Bitcoin has pulled back nearly 16% from its recent highs this week on the back of a news report that major market makers are stepping back for fear that the SEC is going to regulate them and find them at fault. So now that Bitcoin has dropped below $26,000, what's next for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space? What can we expect? Where are the levels of support and resistance? And where could Bitcoin go from here? In Bitcoin, those parallel channels that I drew a few weeks ago are panning out in quite a big way. I have not adjusted these channels at all since 3 weeks ago, and you can see that Bitcoin came right down and hit this level of support, just like the parallel channels indicated it might. At this point, you can see that we are consolidating. This candle indicates that there's a lot of indecision between the bulls and the bears, and the next move is probably going to be a big one, either to the upside or the downside. On the upside, you can see the parallel channel indicates that we could see somewhere between 28,600 and maybe 28,800 on the upside. On the downside, we have to hit this key level of support. We have to hold 25,818. If we don't hold this price point, Bitcoin will head much lower. And as you can see, there's a bit of an air gap here. Even though the 50% retracement is down here around 25,200, it's more likely we're going to see a pullback to where there was a lot more price action. And if we look at our parallel channels, that lines up almost perfectly with this point down here. We're looking at a support level right around the $24,000 mark, and I'm looking at adding to my position around $24,056. I like to be early when it comes to Bitcoin, especially at this point because I'm adding very small allocations. Personally, I'm hoping Bitcoin will pull back and test its March lows at the very least, or potentially even its October lows. So I'm not adding in huge quantities. In fact, right now I have less than 0.25% of the entire allocation I want in Bitcoin. After this key level of support, you can see that down here we've got $22,000 as a mark in the past, which is backed up by the 78.6% retracement line down at $21,818. After that point, we do have the next level of support at $20,627, and when we pull out on the chart, there is that $19,300 mark that needs to hold. That's the March low. If we break through that low, we have another air gap all the way down here to the 127.2% retracement down at $16,100, and you can see we've got a lot of price action around there. So if I was going to be more aggressive, I'd probably set my next buy around 16,900 or even 17,000. Bitcoin is an unusual beast. There are a lot of bulls that say since we're less than a year out from the halvening that we should see Bitcoin start to rally into that. However, Bitcoin's never existed in a rate tightening environment, and all the macroeconomic news that we're seeing is not good for risk assets, and currently Bitcoin remains a risk asset. As always, my approach to buying in Bitcoin is the same as my approach to buying stocks. Since you can buy in an incredibly small quantity, there's no reason to go all in with your position in Bitcoin. Assume that it's going to sell to new lows, and if it doesn't, you can always buy at higher points. The next week will probably prove to be a very interesting one in Bitcoin, and I'm expecting whichever way it goes to be quite a big move. So it'll be exciting to see where we're headed next. Please hit like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out, and I'll see you in the next video.